For this base, I started by gluing little segments of cork. I made sure to choose a base a little bigger than I actually needed, as I intended to add a lot of foliage to it, and I would require the extra room around the legs of the miniature that would be attached. I made sure to check the spacing of the cork by dry fitting the miniature on top of it, to make sure there wasn't going to be too wide of a gap in the earth between his legs. I then apply AK Interactive's concrete terrain paste over all of this. I dab more into the ravines between the cork pieces and gently slope it upwards, so it's not as hard of an angle change and more akin to the natural erosion from moving water. Honestly, any type of texture paste would work here, I just use this one because it's currently open. You could also substitute sand and glue here as well. Once the texture paste was dry, I glued on the miniature and then primed the barbarian in the base with German red brown from Vallejo. Originally I chose this color as it would be a good base coat for his flesh, as well as the plains environment that I had originally imagined from within. However, as I continued with the priming, my imagination began to drift to the other treacherous biomes, before eventually being utterly transfixed on the swampy hell I remember from Diablo 2. The same barbarian that, after being shot by one too many fetishes blowgun, said, "F this shit. You see these massive quads atop these getaway sticks? I'm Hulk jumping the f out of here." Now, adamantly intent on the swampy base, I thin down some dark green until it's awash and slap this over the entire base, making sure to let a little of the original color show through. Without waiting for the first green wash to dry, I mix a lighter green wash and then apply this over about 60 to 75% of the base, staying mostly away from directly under him or in the ravine, and focusing where the light would easily reach. Again, without waiting for the paint to dry, I immediately swapped Army Painter's Strong Tone wash and apply this around the cork and inside the ravines. I'll be applying water gel here later, so having the darker foundation beneath the water will make it appear muddier. Again, without waiting for anything to dry, I mix an even lighter green wash than previous and apply this sparingly over the upraised bits of cork, with the idea of this being some bits of moss growing atop the damp earth. I then raid my basing case, which is a giant plastic case containing a bunch of little cases like this, and begin gluing on large tufts from Redbaker. I cut one of the tufts in half and glue them down in some of the crevices, as if the water table was currently higher than it normally is, and some of the tall grass is partially submerged. Just be aware that with Redbaker, their tufts shed a lot of fibers. You can see a lot of strands on the cutting mat already, just from handling two tufts. I then swap to Army Painter tufts, which have various sizes, all of which are smaller than the large Redbaker one. From the Army Painter line, I pull a few from the Deadland, Wasteland, and Winter Tuft types, and then glue them around the base. I use a sculpting tool to move and press down on them as needed, so I don't glue my finger to the miniature as I've done in the past. Next, I raid my Warmtree shrubbery. I like these and have not put myself in a position to use them enough. These seem almost perfect for the swamp, so I'm jumping at the chance to use them now. If you want to know what shrubbery products I've used, you can view my review of various basing products, as well as provide the specific product names and a rough estimate of what it may cost for you to purchase these same items. The link should be in the top right now, but if it's not, you can check the description of this video for that link. After letting all the glue set, I dabbed on AK Interactive Swamp Green water gel between and around the cork, basically the same place I added the Strong Tone wash previously. This stuff goes on like a baby puke pea soup green, but when it dries it becomes transparent, giving a great swamp water appearance as its name implies. More importantly though, this stuff is viscous, so much so that you can put it on super thick without fear of it going all Hulk Hogan arms and running wild all over you. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jim, would it have not been easier to just put the swamp gel on before you glued on all those tufts and foliage? Well, let me tell you. Yeah, it would have been. Without waiting for the gel to dry, I start to dab on some Strong Tone wash sporadically around all of the foliage, and then I repeat the same with some of the Army Painter 2.0 speed paints. I added Desolate Brown, mostly to the ground and tree, but a little around some of the bushes. Burnt moss was sporadically added around the bushes, and then algae green was also sporadically added to the bushes. The algae green was also added to the two reed-like plants, which gave it a nice color and made it appear more alive as opposed to a dead, dried-out plant. Admittedly, this is the most crowded base I've ever done, but considering it's a swamp, crowded wasn't necessarily bad. After putting in an hour's worth of work onto this base, I called it a night. This is what I ultimately ended up with. All in all, this is possibly the best and most complex base that I've done. It was also the first swamp environment that I've made. The swamp water gel was pleasant to work with, and really none of the products used were difficult to apply. The speed paints help pull everything together by giving every bit of it a dark and similarly dingy look. And that'll bring this video to its end. I hope you learned something or were inspired to make your own swampy base or terrain. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, you can easily support this channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'm Jim with Working Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until the next video.